Today's topic is tariffs, and they're explained for everyone. What are tariffs and how do they work? Tariffs are taxes or duties placed on imported goods by a government. Now, these taxes serve to increase the price of foreign goods, making domestic products more attractive to consumers. The primary purpose of tariffs is to make imported products more expensive compared to domestic items, thereby discouraging or encouraging, customers to purchase locally produced goods. This is a situation when a product can be produced by a foreign supplier cheaper than in the USA. Additionally, tariffs can serve as tools for regulating trade balances, protecting domestic industries, and generating government revenue. Tariffs can be a significant tool in a country's trade policy, used not only to raise government revenue, but also to protect local industries, promote economic growth, and address trade imbalances. There are two main types of tariffs. First is the specific tariff. This is a fixed amount per unit of goods, for example, $5 per ton of steel. Ad valorem tariffs, which is a percentage of the value of the imported goods, for example, 10% of the value of the imported car. Now, tariffs work through the following steps. First, when a country imposes a tariff on imports, businesses importing goods from foreign countries have to pay an additional tax when those goods cross the border. Importers typically pass these additional costs on to consumers in the form of higher prices for imported goods. This price increase makes domestic goods more competitive by comparison, since they aren't subject to the tariff. As a result, local producers may benefit from increased demand. Now, tariffs also generate revenue for the government that can be used for various purposes, like infrastructure, public services, or trade agreements. When a country imposes a tariff on imports, it increases the cost of those goods, which in turn often leads to higher prices for consumers. The effect is twofold. First, protection for domestic industries. By making foreign products more expensive, tariffs help domestic producers compete. This is especially beneficial for emerging industries, for those struggling to compete with established foreign competition. Often, a country with massive amounts of cheap labor or supplies of certain minerals can lower the price of similar items in their country, thus causing an unfair price balance for other countries. Now, revenue for the government. This tariff generates income for the government, which can then be used for various public needs, such as infrastructure, education, or defense. Currently, many countries have excessive tariffs on USA produced products for just this purpose, to fund their governments. While tariffs can make imported goods more expensive, they can also provide a boost to domestic businesses by reducing foreign competition and increasing demand for locally produced goods. Now, what are the economic impacts of tariffs? Tariffs protect local industries from cheaper foreign products, allowing them to grow, create jobs, and become more competitive. For instance, if steel tariffs are imposed, domestic steel manufacturers may benefit from reduced foreign competition. While tariffs can result in higher prices for consumers, they can also stimulate the local economy. As domestic producers gain more market share, they may reinvest innovation, leading to better products in the long term. While tariffs can sometimes trigger retaliatory actions from other nations, they also provide leverage in trade negotiations, helping a country secure better deals or protect strategic industries. Now, what is the history of tariffs in the USA? The United States has a long history of using tariffs to shape its economy, protect its industries, and foster domestic growth. Here's a look at how tariffs have played a role in the nation's economy. The first tariff of the US, or the Tariff Act of 1789. After gaining independence from Great Britain, the United States faced significant economic challenges. The government under President George Washington, along with Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton, turned to tariffs as a way to build the nation's economy. The first significant tariff in the U.S. history was enacted in 1789, just a few years after the Revolutionary War. This tariff was designed to raise revenue for the fledgling government and protect American manufacturers from competition with British goods. The U.S. at the time was still a young economy with limited industrial capacity, and the tariff aimed to stimulate domestic production while raising much needed funds for the federal government. Now, this tariff marked the beginning of a long tradition of using tariffs as an economic tool to protect and nurture domestic industries. Early 19th century, they're building an industrial base here in the US. In the early 1800s, tariffs continued to play a central role in protecting emerging US industrial revolution, which was just beginning to take root in the United States. And the government saw tariffs as an essential to help domestic industries compete with more established European economies. The Tariff of 1816. This was the first protective tariff designed to shield American manufacturers from foreign competition. It was passed in the wake of the War of 1812, during which British goods were cut off, giving U.S. manufacturers a temporary advantage. After the war, American industries faced the threat of being overrun by cheaper British goods. The tariff was seen as a crucial thing for nurturing the U.S. economy. Now, after the Civil War, the U.S. underwent rapid industrialization, and tariffs were used to support this expansion. During the Civil War, tariffs were raised to help fund the Union Army. The Morrill Tariff, passed in 1861, marked a significant increase in tariff rates and helped finance the war effort. It also protected growing U.S. industries from foreign competition during a critical period of industrial development. As a result, tariffs helped create a thriving industrial base here in the U.S., setting the stage for the economic dominance of the 20th century. Now, in the late 19th and early 20th century, protectionism and trade policies were prevalent. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, the debate over tariffs became more politically charged. While many industrialists supported high tariffs to protect domestic industries, farmers and consumers often opposed them due to the higher costs which they faced. Under President William McKinley, tariffs were raised to their highest levels yet, aiming to protect U.S. industries, particularly in the steel, textiles, and sugar. While this tariff was controversial, it provided a significant boost to domestic industries and helped the U.S. maintain its position as an emerging economic powerhouse. The Payne-Aldrich Tariff of 1909 reduced tariffs on some goods but raised them on others. This tariff generated controversy and highlighted the complex nature of tariff policy in the U.S., with different regions and industries lobbying for protection. Now, the Great Depression and the Smoot-Hawley Tariff. In response to the Great Depression, the U.S. passed the Smoot-Hawley Tariff, which raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. Initially, it was hoped that it would protect American jobs and industries. However, it triggered retaliatory tariffs from other countries and led to a steep decline in international trade, exacerbating the economic crisis. While the Smoot-Hawley Tariff is often cited as a negative example of tariffs, it is also a reminder of how protectionism can backfire if it triggers a trade war and stifles global economic cooperation. This was one period of tariffs that was not well planned or controlled and didn't work out. Now let's consider the post-World War II tariff period and global trade. After World War II, we were trying to promote global economic stability and reducing tariffs through international trade agreements. Let's consider the General Agreements on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT, as it is known as, from 1947. The U.S. was instrumental in establishing the GATT, or GATT, which aimed to reduce global tariffs and promote free trade. This helped rebuild the world economy and marked a shift toward tariff reduction in favor of more open markets. Now let's consider the North American Free Trade Agreement, or what was known as NAFTA, signed in 1994. NAFTA created a trade bloc between the US, Canada, and Mexico, gradually eliminating tariffs between the three countries. NAFTA was seen as a major step toward free trade in America. Now, what about recent tariffs and the role of trade wars? In more recent decades, tariffs have occasionally been used to address trade imbalances and protect certain industries from unfair competition. One of the recent trade and tariff incidents is the US China trade war of 2018 to 2020. Under President Donald Trump, the US imposed tariffs on Chinese goods in an effort to address the trade imbalances and the intellectual property theft. While controversial, these tariffs highlighted the role of tariffs as tools for negotiating trade terms. Many of the tariffs imposed during this period have continued to raise substantial funds for the USA. Now, steel and aluminum tariffs of 2018. The US imposed tariffs on steel and aluminum imports under the national security justification. While this raised prices for industries reliant on these materials, it was also aimed at protecting the US manufacturers from foreign competition and revitalizing the US steel industry. What are benefits of tariffs for the US? Tariffs have historically played an important role in protecting American industries and promoting economic development. One benefit is in protecting the emerging industries. Tariffs shield fledgling industries from unfair foreign competition, allowing them to grow and become more competitive globally. Another benefit is in boosting domestic employment. By encouraging the growth of domestic industries, tariffs help create jobs, particularly in manufacturing sections. The third benefit to consider is in generating government revenue. Now, tariffs have served as a primary source of revenue, particularly in the early years of the US government. And the last benefit we will consider is for national security. In some cases, tariffs have been imposed to protect industrial deemed critical to national security, such as steel and defense-related manufacturing. The history of tariffs in the United States is a story of both protection and progress. From the first tariff imposed by George Washington after the Revolutionary War to the industrialization of the 19th century and the recent use of tariffs in trade disputes, tariffs have played a key role in shaping the US economy. While they can raise costs for consumers and provoke trade wars, tariffs have also served to protect domestic industries, promote economic growth, and to support national security. The US continues to use tariffs as part of its broader trade strategy, balancing the benefits of protection and the need for global cooperation. The balance between protectionism and free trade remains a contentious issue in the US policy. One caveat to the entire history of tariffs is the enormous disparity we now see between the USA and most other countries in the world. Many economists agree that a balanced and fair trade between countries would help stimulate the world economic situation, either through equalized tariffs or returning to a zero-based tariff with all nations. If you found this discussion helpful, please like it and leave a comment below of how it helped you. And please subscribe now in order to have access to all of my insightful presentations. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to you coming back.